All right, let's jump right into a really fascinating and, for a lot of people, a deeply personal paradox. We're going to explore a pretty counterintuitive idea from our source material today. What if going deeper in your spiritual life, especially with prayer, doesn't actually make things easier, but in fact makes them a whole lot harder?
I mean, have you ever felt this? It's a super unsettling feeling, right? You decide to get serious, you commit to your faith, you start praying with real intensity, and instead of everything becoming peaceful, life just erupts into chaos. Suddenly, your money gets weird, your relationships get tense, your job takes a nosedive. You're left thinking, what is going on here? And this isn't just some abstract idea. Our source material grounds this in a real-world story about a high-ranking military officer, an air commodore, no less. She was at the top of her game, but the moment she got serious about prayer, her whole professional life just imploded. Positions she held were suddenly taken away. Colleagues, people she worked with every day, just ganged up on her. It felt way more like a punishment than a blessing. So, what's the deal? How does our source make sense of this? Well, it completely reframes the whole experience. It suggests that this isn't a sign you're failing, and it's definitely not a punishment. No, it's the natural result of you declaring something really, really big in the spiritual realm. And this right here is the absolute core of the idea. According to the source, when you pray something like, "Thy kingdom come," it's not some passive little wish. It's an active, you might even say aggressive spiritual statement. You are literally announcing your intent to rebuild the spiritual territory around you, to change the existing rules. And a declaration like that, it does not go unnoticed. So you gotta see it like this. On one side, there's your goal. You wanna bring divine order into your life, your family, your finances. But on the other side, there's a powerful reaction. The powers that be, as the source calls them, they don't just step aside and say, "Oh, sure, come on in, no way." They push back. And that pushback is what you feel as these increased battles, these attacks from every side. To explain this season of intense trial, the source offers this really powerful metaphor. It says this isn't a dead end, it's a classroom. You've basically just been enrolled in what it calls the College of Faith. And in this college, the curriculum is adversity itself, and the final exam is your total transformation. It's a tough program for sure, but it's designed to teach you something absolutely essential.
So, if this is a college, what are the courses? What's on the syllabus? Well, the source lays out 5 key operations, or codes, that you have to master, and we're going to start with the first, most foundational one of all, faith. But hold on, we're not talking about the kind of faith that's just about positive thinking, the whole decree and possess idea. The source is describing something way tougher, a much more resilient faith. It's the kind of faith that keeps you walking even when your prayers feel like they're hitting the ceiling, when the circumstances of your life completely contradict what you say you believe. It's about having the grit to walk through the fire and through the water.
The story of Isaac is a perfect example of this in action. He's told to stay put in a land where there's a famine. So he digs a well to get water, and his enemies come and just take it. But he doesn't quit. He moves on, digs another one, and they take that one too. It's only on that third try that he finally has a breakthrough, and he doesn't just survive, he prospers so much he becomes more powerful than the entire nation he's living in. And here's the big lesson. The breakthrough wasn't about finding the perfect spot to dig. No, the process of persevering through all that failure had fundamentally changed Isaac himself. The power wasn't in the well, the power was in the person digging the well. He'd been so forged by the process that, as the source puts it, he could now dig on solid rock and water would come out. Okay, so you've built that tough, resilient faith. That's the foundation. Now the curriculum gets personal. It moves on to forge your actual character. The next 3 codes are all about a deep internal rewiring: love, purity, and self-denial. The second code is unconditional love. This is where, according to the source, you learn a kind of love that just doesn't make logical sense. It goes way beyond your own comfort and self-preservation, and it's often tested through these moments of radical sacrificial giving. Like the story from the source about being told to give nearly his entire month's salary to someone else, leaving him with literally no way to pay his own bills. Next up, code number 3 is purity. And the source is crystal clear on this point. It is a non-negotiable. There's no room for compromise here. It argues that if you want to be a vessel for divine work, you must separate yourself from iniquity. It's this purity, not your talent, not your intelligence, not your status, that qualifies you for what it calls the master's use. And the fourth code is self-denial. This is all about completely reorienting the center of your universe. It's the principle of, well, dying to yourself. It means dethroning your own ambitions, your own ego, your own need to be right, so that God and other people can become the real priority. It's a total flip of the script, right? The source basically says the world's formula is I, myself, and me. It's all about self-promotion, self-preservation. But the kingdom formula, it turns that completely upside down. It's God first, other people second, and you come in last. And this, it argues, is the only real path to multiplication and lasting impact. Okay, so let's recap. You've gone through this crazy intense college of faith. You've learned this resilient kind of faith, unconditional love, purity, self-denial. So what's it all for? What's the graduation prize? This brings us to the fifth and final operation. And you really have to get this. The reward for all this pain and all this hardship isn't a life of comfort. It's not about finally getting to kick your feet up. According to our source, the reward is so much bigger than that. The reward is responsibility. The reward is power. And here it is. This is what it's all been leading to. The final entrustment is with what the source calls the sovereign word. See, after you've been forged in all that fire, the word of God isn't just words on a page anymore. It becomes a tangible, living reality in your hands, a weapon of war, a scepter of authority that you can actually wield to bring real change into the world around you. So what does that even look like in real life? Well, the source points to these incredible biblical figures who operated at this level. People like Elisha, who could speak a word and literally shift a nation's economy overnight. Or Elijah, who could control the weather. Or Daniel, who had the wisdom to give direction to kings and presidents. That's the level of authority this whole intense process is designed to create. So let's bring it all home. Those increased battles you face when you start praying aren't random. They're not a sign that you've done something wrong. From the perspective of our source, it's actually a sign that you have been enrolled in a highly structured, very intentional process of deep transformation. And there's this one quote from the source that just nails the whole concept perfectly. If you don't know him in the fire, he will not show you himself in the palace. The trials are the necessary prerequisite for the authority. The fire is the mandatory training ground for the palace. The hardship is what forges a person who is capable of handling true spiritual power. And that leaves us with a final, really powerful thought to chew on. The next time life gets harder after you pray, this source invites you to ask a totally different question. Instead of asking, what am I doing wrong? Maybe, just maybe, the real question is, what is this trying to teach me? It reframes the whole idea of adversity. It's not an obstacle on the path, it's the curriculum itself.